The Sports Your Enthusiasm podcast is brought to you by the Pushstar Media Network. Make sure you go and check us out on the website at thepushstarmedianetwork.com. Tons of great podcasts and tons of great content that you could definitely enjoy for every listener out there. On today's show, Rueter and I are discussing part one of our NFL free agency tracker here, or review, I should say. And we discussed pretty much the quarterbacks that transitioned throughout the league. A lot of big news that happened this weekend or this past week. And we pretty much touch on it all here for you and just kind of put everything in its place and discuss the ramifications of each move and whatnot. So very fun episode. And also for anybody that's listening out there, that's going through this coronavirus and this COVID-19 situation that we're going through, our hearts are out with you guys. We want to make sure that we are providing content for you guys to listen to as we're kind of going through this self-quarantine thing and whatnot. So definitely thinking about you guys. Stay safe, wash your hands, do what we can to stop the spread of this virus, and hopefully we can go ahead and get through this together. Other than that, kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Your Enthusiasm podcast. I am your humble host, Bryce Benjamin, along with the guy who needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyways. My guy, Ed Rueter. What's good, Rueter?
Not too much, Bryce. Today's podcast episode is going to be brought to us by Mountain Dew, since I was up late playing MLB The Show.
Nice.
So without Mountain Dew, I think I'd be asleep at your desk here. But other than that, I'm feeling great, man.
How's that game? Is popping?
Oh, it's incredible. It's the best sports sim game on the planet, bar none. It's not even close.
I mean, you say you're going to bring it over so I could try it out, but, you know.
Listen, I say a lot of things.
Yeah.
I say a lot. You're going to learn there's a lot of things that I say. That,
hey, man, you're going to have a lot of time to play if this damn corona breaks out even further.
I know.
The way it's looking right now.
It's pretty wild right now, man. There's a lot
man.
of stuff out there. Obviously, we recommend everybody stay safe, stay healthy.
Seriously.
Stay inside if you can.
Wash your hands.
Yep.
Wash your clothes.
Cough and sneeze into your elbow.
Hide your kids. Hide your wife.
All that kind of good stuff. All good advice.
So we go. That's a good opening like that. I like that. So I want to talk some free agency, man. NFL free agency is lit right now. Sports has been shut down for the last 2 weeks. Nothing's going on. This is like the craziest shit I've ever experienced in my sports life. But NFL free agency did not stop. The corona can't stop that. I mean, deals can't officially be signed until these physicals get passed and whatnot, but we know where these players is going. And I think we're going to lead off here with quarterbacks because, the number one topic right now that's trending on Twitter, on Facebook, everything is Tom Brady to the Buccaneers. Official today. Signed the contract and everything.
I thought when you were first talking about that, everyone's talking about it was the Colt McCoy to the Giants deal that you were talking about. That's what I had in my head when you were saying.
I didn't even know that happened.
That's all it was.
Breaking news.
Twitter's on fire. Colt McCoy to the Giants. I thought you were talking about
McCoy
that.
to the Giants, baby, taking Danny Dimes' job.
I guess Brady makes more sense in that context, right?
Brady to the fucking Buccaneers. Who's seen that coming, Ed?
Not me. Not me.
Like, what is going on?
So to any of our return listeners, I had a list of about 30 places that Brady could go where it makes sense, and I think the Bucs would have been about at the bottom of that list. So
easily
surprising to me, man.
Easily at the bottom. And what he signed for? 2 years, $50 million. Everyththing's guaranteed.
I thought, at least most of it was guaranteed. I thought there was a clause where somehow the Buccaneers can get out of it if Brady is terrible in year 2. But a lot of it was guaranteed. And apparently the Bucs think they're in win now mode. It's the only thing you can think about this. And really, for me, the biggest thing is, what does that mean for Jameis? I mean, that's the most interesting part of this whole thing for me is Brady a fit, and what does that mean for Jameis Winston? So what are your thoughts there?
Jameis, it would be so poetic is if he goes to New England. Like, that would be like the most poetic justice thing that we can ever hope for is that Jameis goes to New England. And not only goes to New England, but goes and balls out, like actually balls out, not the balling out that he thought he did this past season. Like, that would be so fitting, and I kind of want that to happen.
And then they meet in the Super Bowl.
I don't want that to happen.
I mean, I wouldn't care for that either as an official Patriots hater, but that would be incredible. The news story alone that would drum up, it would be worth it in my book.
That'd be so dope, man. Like Jameis, if he messed around and was to go to the Patriots, but I think ultimately, I don't think he's going to find a starting job. I think he's going to have to kind of take a year or two to sit behind. One of the teams I would want him to go to, honestly, would be Pittsburgh. If I'm looking at it from just like a pure NFL fan perspective, going to Pittsburgh, being able to sit behind Roethlisberger and be able to get with Mike Tomlin, I think he'd be the perfect head coach for Jameis Winston, honestly.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation that he's going to end up a backup, which if you think about it, it's insane, right? It's absolutely crazy to me to think that Jameis Winston, after throwing 5,000 yards last year, granted the elite 30-30 club, right? He threw those 30 picks and kept the other team in the game just as much as his own team, but he was, according to himself, balling out.
Yes.
5,000 yards, 30 TDs. He wanted $35 million. Not only is he not going to get the $35 million, but he might have to go somewhere as a backup.
Yes.
If that's not the leading story, along obviously with Brady, then I don't know what is. That's just, it's wild. It's absolutely crazy to me.
Think how much better this Bucs team got with Brady, though, man. Like, not even just the offense. The overall franchise just became that much more valuable from signing one player.
A lot of the things that you heard from other players when this happened, right? That's the first thing that I look towards. It's easy to look at the media and what they're saying and, talk to your friends and what they're thinking about it. But when you hear what other players are saying, that's kind of a cool thing to me to kind of think about. And what I heard from all the players was that Brady, exactly like you said, makes the entire roster better. Having him in that QB room, having him in that room with the wide receivers and with the coaches, he elevates everyone around him and makes your team that much better. And one of the crazy things to think about that not a lot of people were saying, that I like that you mentioned, you said that he makes the whole team better.
Yes.
Right? Well, that defense was already pretty good last year.
Yes.
If you take a look at the advanced numbers, okay, and you don't just look at the fact that, they lost a lot of games because they gave up 30 points. That's an easy way to look at it and say, their defense must stink. Well, that's not the case. You got Jameis throwing pick sixes like it's his job, and if it's not a pick six, then he's fumbling or throwing an interception. That puts their team in a terrible field position situation.
Right.
When you look at the actual analytics, Tampa Bay was in the top 10 for defenses last year. And, they've made some additions as well on that side of the ball. So it's going to be an interesting team. I'm excited to see what they come up with in the Bay Area.
Especially with that supporting cast. Tampa Bay has arguably, and I don't think it's an argument in my opinion, they have the best receiving core in the league with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and then O.J. Howard at tight end. That you can't find a too much of a better three set combo than that right there, what they have. Now you add Brady to that dimension. They already have a pretty solid offensive line on top of that. And on top of that, it's going to make their running back perform better as well. He had an average season. Was Ronald Jones the third or the second? He had an average season last year, but Brady makes him better because now teams aren't going to be stacking the box as often as they are. My only concern with Brady, though, is obviously the velocity with his arm, obviously, throwing the ball down the field. Can he stretch the field vertically? Because that's Arian's system. He wants to throw the ball down the field to these big receivers, these big tight ends and receivers there. So that'd be my number one question with Tom Brady. But just the overall franchise just got better, man. He's going to show these kids, how to prepare for games and how to study film, and any quarterback that they draft to come be his successor and his backup, they get to learn from him for a year or two. So it's such a crazy signing. Like, not just his production on the field, but everything he brings off the field, in the locker rooms, all that comes with this. Like, this is hands down the number one signing that happened in free agency so far, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers +1, right? They're a whole level up from where they were. I love that you said that they've got such a great receiving core, such a group of weapons. That's probably what helped draw Brady there in the first place.
Right.
But, as fans tend to do nowadays, one of the first things that I think about is, wow, Evans and Godwin and Howard, this explosive offense, and what is that going to mean for fantasy football and things like that, right? But I have kind of an interesting take on that, too. If you look at Brady the last few years, he hasn't really been a downfield passer like ever, aside from the year that he had Moss. There's been a lot of, working the tight ends over the middle, working Edelman and Welker over the middle, dumping off to James White and his running backs over and over. So I think you might actually see Mike Edwins and Godwin go backwards as fantasy targets, even with Brady
so?
there versus Wilson. Yeah, because I think if nothing else, Winston was a chucker. He will throw that ball downfield.
Gunslinger.
He certainly doesn't lack the confidence to throw it downfield. We've seen that. And those were two guys that could go out there and get those jump balls, right?
Right.
Brady's not going to do that. Brady's going to, if there's a mess, the pocket collapses, he's not going to chuck one downfield and hope that Mike Evans goes and gets it. He's going to dump it in the dirt, right? So I think who actually benefits from this move in a fantasy perspective and whose career trajectory might take off here is Ronald Jones II. Not Ronald Jones Jr., by the way. It's Ronald Jones II.
Yeah, that's
key.
It's
an important, very important distinction. So write that down, everyone.
Don't disrespect that man by calling him junior.
No, he's not a junior. He's the second, right? So that's very important. But then O.J. Howard. I think O.J. Howard skyrockets this year.
Yeah.
He may be the number one tight end, and it may not even be close. I think that's the route that this offense goes. I think Arians is smart enough to utilize what he has in front of him, and you're going to see a little bit downward tick in production from both Evans and Godwin this year.
I hear what you're saying. And I feel you on the deep balls probably aren't going to be just throw it 50 yards down the field and go get it. I still think, because like this is Brady's thing, is like he gets it to everybody. Everybody gets the touch. Everybody's going to spread the ball. And I still expect like a lot of slant patterns, a lot of outs. You know, them typical Brady routes, a lot of digs. I still think they're going to put up a lot of numbers. I think you will see like a higher increase in catch amounts and then maybe a decrease in like yards per catch. You know, type of deal. So I still think they're going to put up the numbers. Maybe not, Evans, I think he had like 48, 58 catches for over 1,000 yards or something like that. So the averages, I think, are definitely going to go down. And I agree with you on the Howard point. I definitely think he can have a hell of a fantasy season, like a top 5 tight end, especially in the red zone. Brady loves his tight ends in the red zone. And then since Gronk left, and last year he had shit. So that definitely got me. He has the weapons down, man. No excuses.
To take a page from Stephen A., I agree with everything you just said, but let me tell you why you're wrong. I think it's easy for me to say Brady has just gotten it done everywhere he's been, right? And it's true through his career. I mean, 6 Super Bowl wins. I mean, the guy's a living legend like
he's the GOAT.
Maybe never seen before, right?
He's the GOAT.
But you still have to have some realistic expectations for what this guy can do physically. It was 42 or 43 next year?
43.
43 next year. So I don't know that he's got it in his arm left, right? I just don't know that it's there to the way that this offense currently applies its tactics, right? I don't know that he fits in with this team right now. Arians is a brilliant offensive coach, and I think it's going to take some major changes and maybe some sacrifices, right, from Evans and Godwin. I don't anticipate them both being 1,000-yard receivers next year because I think maybe O.J. Howard joins that list.
Yeah.
But Evans might be the guy there. Godwin certainly, I think, takes a step backwards. And I think that's further evidenced by the fact that they're not reaching out to sign Perriman, right, who was a great player for them last year as well. I just don't know that this is going to be a vertical threat offense anymore. So very interesting, man. I'm loving it. It's an exciting first story to talk about. It's exciting to have some kind of sports news out there.
Yeah, man. Free agency is literally carrying the sports world right now. I've just been going back and watching reruns of NFL and basketball games.
Yeah, man. To speak on that real quick, it's interesting. Having everything canceled. It really is. It's a surreal time.
This is the craziest thing in sports ever. Ever. Like this never happened before. Like everything's shut down.
Yeah,
I can't even watch. What's the thing with the brooms in the
curling.
ball? Yeah, I can't watch
curling.
that. Like,
no dodgeball. Everyth's
nothing.
Closed. Nothing. It's crazy. It really is. It's surreal is the word that I would use. There's as a lifelong sports fan, I'm a big fan of looking back at records and stats from the past. I am a nerd to the degree you couldn't even believe at looking back at old baseball cards and looking back at the stats of this guy. This guy played 19 seasons.
Yes.
And he accumulated these records. It's going to be so weird across every record book to see shortened seasons,
2020,
canceled seasons, no NCAA tournament. Even to the way it extends out beyond the 4 major sports. You watch like wrestling events, right? That's in the realm of sports, right? Wrestlers are out there performing in front of empty crowds. It's a surreal feeling right now in the entire world of sports. UFC, yeah. I mean, it's a crazy world we're in.
Boxing, like you said, the NCAA tournament, the fucking March Madness is not about to happen.
I know.
Like this is the time I'm getting ready to do my brackets and nothing.
This is the time everyone across the country is normally filling in the team name they like best and pretend